Before I begin painting, I like to take a moment to slow down, calm my nervous system, and quiet the noise in my mind. It helps open the space for hearing that quieter voice within. If you'd like, take a deep breath with me and allow your own mind to become spacious. Most artists think growth comes from doing more. But what if real growth comes from something more like this? Slow, organic unfoldment. In other words, it's already happening. Before you even understand it, it cannot not happen. Every time you pick up a paintbrush, you're practicing, and practice enables growth. Every time you work on anything else in your life, growth is also happening then. For May, I'm working with the color emerald, which feels perfectly timed, because this is the season where everything begins anew. Leaves are unfolding, colors are becoming vibrant again, and what had been looking cold and still is birthing into a new season of hope. And this is the energy of emerald. Not sudden change, but slow and steady growth. As I begin this painting, I'm not starting with structure. I'm starting with movement. Letting the first layers come in intuitively without needing to define anything. Just feeling and moving with the flow of energy. This is something I encourage my painting students to practice, because there's a stage in the intuitive painting experience where the goal is simply to have fun, to witness yourself having the experience of playful exploration. It's a time for releasing and letting go of any prior ideas you might have had about the outcome of the work that you've just started. And just being present with the play of color. Anyone can find joy in this practice. You needn't be an artist to experience yourself and the joy of playing with color. The color emerald has long been associated with the heart chakra, the center of connection between physical needs and higher understandings, the doorway of compassion, and the place for finding emotional balance. But what I've come to understand is this isn't just about connection, compassion, and emotions. It's also about alignment. It's the place where you feel harmony between your inner world and what you express outwardly, a place for coming into balance. You're starting to see the structure of the painting forming here. These leaf shapes arrange in a kind of mandala pattern, radiating outwardly from the center and growing in size. There's a movement to it, like energy expanding or a breath moving through the body. From a distance, it reads as something a bit more abstract. But as I moved closer to finishing the painting, and you moved closer to seeing it from, rather than from a distance to a closer position, the structure begins to reveal itself as the leaves become more obvious. Here's a little tip for beginning artists or painters to understand. Not everything needs to be obvious at first glance. Sometimes the strength of a piece comes from what it reveals to you over closer inspection and passing time. That's true visually, and it's also true in your own artistic development. You don't always see exactly what you're building in your life or your career. The unfoldment of life is funny that way. Because on some random day, you'll have an aha moment when you'll realize, oh my God, I'm already that. I've already become the thing that I had been dreaming of. I've always been drawn to the color emerald, way before I understood the meaning and symbolism of color. When I was a child, my mom, she wanted to wallpaper my bedroom, and she let me choose what I wanted from a couple of wallpaper books she brought home. I always struggled with the idea of having to choose. This wallpaper decision was no different. I loved them all for one reason or another, so to pick just one pattern, one color, one direction for what I probably would have to live with for the remainder of my childhood seemed a bit overwhelming. But eventually I did choose, and I picked a small circular floral pattern in various shades of green. At that time, it just felt right, the best choice I could make from that overwhelming number of choices. But looking back now, I realize that I had spent a lot of my time outside in nature, climbing trees, walking through fields, building forts, and laying in the grass. During that younger time in my life, I went through several health challenges. And I think in some profound and magical way, I may have been energetically drawn to something that felt a little more restorative, something that felt like harmony and balance, before I had the words to describe my empathic or intuitive nature. Historically, the color emerald has carried meaning across cultures for thousands of years. In Egypt, for example, it was associated with renewal and eternal life. In other traditions, it was believed to support healing, restore balance, and bring clarity to heart and mind. And even now, we still associate green with growth, with Mother Nature, and with the essence of life itself. As I move into the upper layers of this painting, you'll notice I'm not painting the leaves directly. I'm painting the negative space around them, using warmer tones to define this negative space, and allowing the greens from the underpainting to naturally become the leaves. Here's a powerful shift in thinking for artists and painters to understand. Sometimes form isn't created by adding to the form. Sometimes it's created by defining what surrounds the form. And we call this process negative painting. And this actually relates back to the concept of growth in a bigger way. We often think growth comes from adding more effort, more information, more control. But a lot of times, growth actually comes from a state of allowing, from creating space and letting something simply emerge from it. This painting, much like this color, is about that kind of growth. It's not forced and it's not rushed, but unfolding in a natural way. Almost like a plant breaking the surface of the earth, and as that first leaf begins to unfold, from its center point growing outwardly into the world, this painting, layer by layer, is becoming a fuller expression of itself too. And maybe that's the reminder here. You don't have to push so hard to become something. You're already in the process of becoming. Trying harder doesn't make it happen faster. In fact, it may even slow your progress. The trick might just be to stay grounded and connected long enough to be the witness to your own growth. I'm working on a new book based around color symbolism. You'll find a link to the waitlist in the description of this video. And if you'd like to learn more about the painting tools, techniques, or process I used to create this image, I'd like to invite you to join me on Patreon. You'll find a link in the description for that too. But if you feel the desire to have emerald energy in your living space to help you process your emotions, be sure to visit my website and order a print today. I'm Tanya Henderson. Thank you for joining me on this adventure with the color of May. Be sure to subscribe to my channel to be notified as we continue this year-long journey into color meaning and symbolism. Thanks for joining me.